So, imagine this. You wake up, you check the news, and you see that a world leader has just been taken, abducted from his own palace by a foreign superpower. No, this is not a movie plot. This is what just happened in Venezuela. And it's a story that's all about oil, power, and a crisis that just exploded with unbelievable speed.
It all starts in the dead of night, January 3rd, 2026. The skies over Caracas, Venezuela's capital, just erupt. The city is jolted awake. But this isn't some internal coup. No, this is a surgical, meticulously planned military operation, and it's being directed by the United States. And they have one target, the nation's leader.
The code name was Operation Absolute Resolve, and honestly, it was a terrifying masterclass in modern warfare. Phase 1, stealth aircraft blind the entire country, taking out 12 key radar sites in just 9 seconds. With Venezuela completely blind, Phase 2 was easy. Total air dominance. And then came Phase 3. The world's most elite commandos, Delta Force, slip right into the heart of the city with a single, absolute objective.
Look at what was unleashed. It was an overwhelming, almost untraceable force. We're talking F-35s that radar literally can't see, B-52s for strategic punch, specialized helicopters to get the commandos in and out. And get this. At the exact same time, a full-scale cyber attack plunges the whole country into a blackout. Power grids, GPS, everything goes dark. The entire mission was over in a matter of hours. The next morning, the world woke up to this absolutely stunning news. President Nicolás Maduro captured, extracted from his own presidential palace and flown to a U.S. aircraft carrier that was just waiting in the Caribbean. He is now, right now, in an American jail. A sovereign leader taken by force. So this begs the one monumental question. Why? Why would the world's only superpower do this? Now, the official story was presented to the world, but as you're about to see, that story, well, it completely falls apart under the slightest bit of pressure. Okay, so let's just break down the official reasons. They said it was about stopping a narco state. The reality? 90% of drugs entering the U.S. come through Mexico. They said it was about restoring democracy. Okay, but America actively supports autocratic regimes like Saudi Arabia. They said it was about human rights. Right, but Washington has diplomatic channels open with North Korea. It's pretty clear these justifications were just a cover story, a pretext.
So, if it wasn't really about drugs or democracy or human rights, what on earth could justify a full-scale military invasion of another country? The answer, as it so often is, isn't in the presidential palace. It's buried deep, deep beneath the ground.
And here it is. This is the real prize. Forget what you think you know about Saudi Arabia. Venezuela is sitting on the largest proven oil reserve on planet Earth, 303 billion barrels. That is enough oil to completely sway the global energy market and, yeah, your gas prices for decades to come. But believe it or not, the oil is just the beginning. See, beyond all that oil, there's an estimated $100 billion worth of something called coltan. Now, this isn't just some random mineral. It's literally the lifeblood of our modern world. It's in your phone, it's in your laptop, it's in every single electric car. You control the coltan, you control a key piece of the entire 21st century economy. So when you put it all together, the picture becomes crystal clear. We're talking about massive reserves of oil, a fortune in coltan, thousands of tons of gold, billions of carats of diamonds, and, crucially, a very specific type of heavy crude oil that U.S. refineries, especially in Texas and Louisiana, were literally built to process. So this isn't just about resources, it's about strategic economic necessity. Which leads to the next really obvious question. Venezuela wasn't always an enemy of the United States. In fact, for a long time, it was one of America's closest allies and one of the richest countries in the entire world. So how did it all go so spectacularly wrong? You know, back in the 1950s, Venezuela was so wealthy that its citizens would fly to Miami for weekend shopping trips. But then, in 1999, Hugo Chavez stormed into power, and his whole platform was railing against American influence. The real breaking point, though, came in 2007. He nationalized the oil industry, seizing billions of dollars in assets from U.S. companies like Exxon Mobil, and basically kicked them out. For a little while, America kind of put up with it. But then, the U.S. shale boom happened, and that changed the entire geopolitical chessboard. But Chavez then made a series of absolutely catastrophic decisions. After seizing the assets, he fired 18,000 of the country's best oil engineers and geologists, the only people who actually knew how to run the industry.
And who did he replace them with? Political loyalists and military men who knew nothing about oil. Production just collapsed. Refineries literally started catching on fire. The oil money that did manage to come in wasn't reinvested. It was all spent on massive public subsidies, which made the entire country dependent on this one single collapsing industry.
And the human cost of all this has just been devastating. That once thriving middle class was plunged into poverty. We're talking about people starving, struggling just to find basic food and medicine. The country's greatest strength, all that oil, had become its absolute worst nightmare. And all of that desperation, it opened the door for an even greater threat to American interests.
It all comes down to a modern version of a really old American policy. It's called the Monroe Doctrine, and basically it's a warning to the rest of the world to keep rival powers out of the Western Hemisphere. It's America saying, this is our backyard. And as Venezuela began to crumble, America's biggest rivals saw a golden opportunity right on its doorstep.
I mean, just look at who stepped into that vacuum. China became Venezuela's personal banker, lending them over $60 billion. Russia became its arms dealer, supplying them with advanced weapons, and Iran started providing military drones and expertise. Now, from Washington's perspective, this was a totally unacceptable strategic threat. You've got a hostile, resource-rich nation, backed by America's biggest rivals, just a 3-hour flight from Miami. What happened in Venezuela wasn't random at all. It follows this chillingly familiar playbook. Step 1, economic strangulation. Hit them with sanctions to ramp up internal pressure. Step 2, create your international justification. Use narratives about democracy and human rights. And then, step 3, when the time is right, you execute a decisive, overwhelming military strike to get what you want. Look, the operation in Venezuela, it demonstrates a brand new reality in geopolitics. It shows us how technology and resources and these massive strategic rivalries can all come together in a swift, decisive action that just redraws the entire map of global power. And it leaves all of us with one final, really unsettling question to think about. When a superpower decides the old rules just don't apply anymore, who's next?